Hello to the fine edition of my so-called 8-Bit Life. I'm your host, Roberto Villegas. Joining me today, lead guy at Invisible Collective and one of the makers of the video game Battlesloss 2025.
The Great Pizza Wars.
The Great Pizza Wars. Phil Johnson.
Hello.
How's it going, sir?
Yeah, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you back again. It's good to have you back, especially because we're like a week or two out of Classic Game Fest.
Yeah, I went there with. Well, actually, you got me in. So,
well I mean,
thank you.
We look. You're friendlies, and though I paid for badge, I upgraded to like a I jokingly said I upgraded to a guest badge because it was like we have some spare guest badges. Do you want one? Yeah, sure. Here.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I was like introducing myself to some of the people in NPC, the Nerdy People of Color collective. And when I got to talking to Samus, who I'm a huge fan of, really is such a sweet, nice person, and she liked my Battlesloss shirt, and she's like, "What is that from?" And I said, "Oh, it's." I think
it's like they're like I was wearing that shirt Friday, the day it was there in San Antonio. There was a show going on with Kirby's Dream Band, Bitforce, Mega Ran, and all other people too, and Chris as well. And I was there wearing it. People were like, "Awesome shirt!" And for those who have no idea what we're talking about, there's a shirt
the best shirt.
It's the best shirt that you cannot get, and it's a shame. And I'm sorry, but that's sometimes C&Ds are a real thing.
Killer Mike, LP, holler at me. Let's figure this out.
But the shirt basically is, for lack of better words, a parody of the Run the Jewels logo, which is sort of a
it's the what's it
I don't know how to describe it, but if you look up Run the Jewels, you'll see it, and it's one severed sloth hand doing the one thing, and the other sloth hand severed, dangling pizza.
Yeah, I mean, considering like most of the team's affinity for really great like rap music and hip hop, it just seemed like the most obvious shirt to make. No,
for sure, it's a great shirt. It's a killer shirt. I was like so glad you gave it to me, and Vincent Banks, better known as DJ Rockman, was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta have that shirt too," because he got it immediately. And so I was wearing it on Friday, and everyone's like, "Awesome shirt." And only I think one of the guys said, "What's Battlesloss?" Because he noticed exactly. He started reading. It's like he thought it was just a weird parody, and he noticed, hold on a second, there's this other subtext here, and I had to explain the game. I was like, "That's an awesome game," and it's like, "That's cool." And I love that this shirt is one of those things that like I'll have in my artifacts of shirts that just can never.
Yeah, I'm like, I only got one, so I'm like kind of thinking like, man, I really shouldn't wear it unless it's something important.
Well, because it's hard.
Kind of last me the rest of my life.
It's a cool shirt. It's definitely one of those ones that.
I guess I could always save the file and just kind of secretly
print it. It's all good. I mean, again, it's a great shirt. I understand why it is in the state that it's in, and I understand why it's no longer allowed. Kind of speaking words, but it's one of those shirts that when people see it, they're like, "That's awesome," and it's so funny when like Samus saw it, like, "That's a great shirt. What is that?"
So I explained it to her, and I was saying it's my video game. And I was also kind of saying like, "Oh, it's nice to be at a convention where I'm not working for once."
And
then Samus is like, "Oh, you should bring your game out. Set it up here at the merch table." I was like, "All right." Well, Samus says I'm working now.
Yeah. And then people started coming by and whatnot. And then of course you rocked your pizza pants as you.
Yeah, I think that outfit's a bit. I don't know.
It's a bit loud.
I might retire that one.
It's a loud outfit. I'm not. It's one of those things when I see it, I'm like, Phil's rocking the pizza pants again. All right.
I like the pizza pants. I just don't like it with the red shirt and the hat.
It's just a very loud outfit.
The whole package is a bit much, but the pizza pants by themselves, they're fine.
And there's nothing wrong with a loud. Like there's I don't remember the kid's name, but there's a fan of Scam School that will sometimes come by, and I think I'd like to say he's out of like. He's definitely not out of Texas, and I know, and so when he comes by, it's a surprise. Mm-hmm. But I forgot his name. I even forgot his card, but he would come to the shows like in his performance outfit, where he has some like loud like the joke about like magic pants and that like colorful thing. Like he's got some loud pants,
right?
Like they're just. You may want to put your shirt down, my friend, unless you want to show the belly and the gut. You could choose. Otherwise, it's your body.
That's right. Thank you.
But he was like some loud pants, and it's funny, when it comes to just pants that are loud. Like loud pants always scare me, Just because like I'm always like wearing like jeans.
There's nothing to be afraid of, Robert. They're just pants.
Well, I know, but it's just like there are times where I want to kind of cloak and fade back in the distance every so often.
You're afraid of wearing loud pants, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were afraid.
I'm not afraid. No, you wear. Look.
I thought you were saying like you were scared.
No,
you wear. Look, you
wear as loud as pants as you'd like. You wear as loud as shirts as you'd like. You do you, baby, as they say.
Right.
But it's me. It's just like I know I couldn't rock those pants because because there'd be that time where I just want to kind of sit back, check my phone, check Twitter, read Politico, do whatever. And I couldn't do that because people were like, "What the fuck is he doing wearing those pants and looking at a phone like he's not disinterested?" That man, like, if you wear pants like that, you demand attention in both a good way and a bad way, but specifically usually in a good. Again, like with you and the pizza pants, is like, "Oh, Phil's rocking the pants again," and you can't miss them.
It's just branding for me.
No, of course it is. No, I understand.
Although I make so many friends wearing those pants.
Well, because it's a distinctive feature. It's
kind of an invitation. Yeah. Like it's like, oh, I like your pants, and it's I don't know.
Hi, well, why are you wearing the pants? Well, you see, this is part of a get-up here. So
I like these pants though. No one ever talks about them.
That's the thing. It's no one talks about like, oh, nice jeans. I mean, they like nice. I mean, they might say nice jeans, but they're just like, wow, those are loud pants. We never say.
Well, no one ever says I hate your pants. That would be like, what kind of jerk would do that?
So let's kind of go back to Classic Game Fest just because I haven't had a chance to really talk about it at all. This is your first time going to Classic Game Fest, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I'm new to Austin, so
right.
Yeah, it was cool.
What did you? I know like I was pretty much the music side of things, and so were you. Did you go walk about a bit in the actual convention?
I got to meet Walter Day. And
oh, that's right. I was there
with
too.
Me. He's like this kindly, sweet old man. We talked about meditation, yoga, and he's like mostly vegan. He says he only eats like cheese or something every
so
super
often.
rarely.
But I think, like he's definitely like it's funny meeting Walter Day. I think the funny thing about the show, and I may tell a story, and I won't say the names of who was afflicted by it, but it became enough of a thing where we have a hashtag for it. But it's funny meeting Walter, and for those who don't know, at Classic Game Fest this year, Walter Day and Billy Mitchell. Walter Day, of course, famous for establishing Twin Galaxies, one of the beginning premier arcades, the premier kind of high score list back in the day. And Billy Mitchell being one of the guys that set the record for Donkey Kong, perfect game.
Yeah. Walter Day and Billy Mitchell both were somewhat vilified in Fistful of Quarters, but there was another documentary. I forget what game it was though, but. It's like a second game.
It's funny
or something.
That leads into the funny thing. It's funny that meeting Walter Day and watching the documentary, I'm like, Walter Day is exactly how I expect him to be, in a good way. In this is very kind, very weird, not weird in a bad way, but just everyone's unique old man and a cool guy to meet.
He's pretty much what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, I had a feeling he was like.
I want people to be like
I have a feeling like he is the okay. If you just take away the cheese and whatever, that is me. That is the way I want to the end point I want to be, where it's deep. It's transcendental meditation and.
Yeah, I just want to be like a really Zen guru type guy.
And he is. And then there's Billy Mitchell, which you were at the Q&A for the NPC, right?
I was there.
Okay, so. I won't say who, because I won't say who it was, but though there are two females, we'll just leave it at that. If you're at Classic Game Fest, you know who. If you're part of the NPC, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
She said.
We won't say a name. No names. But so I'll tell from my perspective, because my perspective is funnier the way it was. So two of my friends who are part of the NPC, two of my amazing musician friends, Raheem Jarbo and Kyle Murdoch, better known as K Murdoch and Megan Rand, as their name, their what is it? Their street name. I don't know what the fuck it's called. The musician names. There's a term for that, like not pen name, but there's a term for your performer name.
I guess so.
Your persona. Hey.
Nom de plume.
Nom de plume is what I'm thinking of, actually. Nom de plume. And so we're there, and I'm chit-chatting with, I don't even remember who I was chit-chatting with, to be honest. I might have been chit-chatting with you for all I can remember. I remember I see Billy Mitchell make a beeline to them, and I go, oh my God, that's crazy. I've never seen Billy Mitchell, the persona image of Billy Mitchell. I go, has never had him making a beeline to talk to anybody. Not because, the persona he has is like, I'm the most important person in the world. Everyone should talk to me kind of thing. And I see him make a beeline to talk to my friends. They go, that's awesome. He just made a beeline to talk to my friends. He's never made a beeline to talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. And he flies back as he will today, make a beeline too, chat with them and whatever. Then one of the artist friends comes down. And I will preface, it's a female. And she's a little, her face is kind of weird. And I'm like, well, what happened? And apparently Billy Mitchell made a beeline not to chat with Kyle and Rand, but to sort of like, in a weird way, hit on the female performer to the point where he was like caressing her hand. And she has no idea who this guy is, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She has no idea who the fuck Billy Mitchell is. Billy Mitchell, to put a persona thing, like the next day, he was like garbed in a white suit. Like he looked like the biggest, like if you didn't know who this man was and you didn't know that he was like royalty here, you would think this is like the biggest douche on the planet. It's just the greatest thing.
I didn't talk to him or interact with him at all.
No, I didn't either. And I can't say that, but it was so funny because it was like basically an old man hitting on a younger woman, and like to the point where she was saying like, I wanted to kick the shit out of him, which would have been awesome and been horrible knowing who it was. But the next day that artist went on, performed, and she has a song kind of, talking about the negativeness of catcalls and stuff like that. And she was basically saying, what was it? She finished her song and she said hashtag Billy Madison. I mean Billy Mitchell.
Oh, right.
Because she honestly had no idea who the hell Billy Mitchell was, and it's so funny at that moment to see that happen. Because I just started laughing, not because it was horrible and disgusting, but it's that whole thing of that. Like we talked about them being vilified, them being this, and them presenting an image of themselves, and like, well, that's an editor. There's someone that did it, and then you see it happen in real life, and you go, that doesn't surprise me, and yet I always thought that was a joke.
I mean, I can't really comment.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
No. It was one of those stranger moments. But let's go to the positive stuff of Classic Game Fest, because you saw a lot of different music stuff, especially the ones you had not seen yet. Like had you ever seen Sam's? You saw Sam's perform live.
I've seen her at South by Southwest. Right. This is the first time I got to see her headline. But all the NPC collective was really, really great.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to catch a whole lot much else. I missed most of Saturday. And I was there for all of Sunday, so
yeah, you still got to see a good chunk. You got to see
they're all great.
You got to see really. IQ perform finally, which
Kadesh Flow was like pretty mind blowing. Shubzilla was probably stole the show for me.
No, Shubs was amazing. And it's kind of it's weird for me, because a lot of those guys have now become my friends, like Ran or now Shubs or Samus or even Kay, and it was I like my Classic Game Fest experience began Wednesday of that week, because Christ Allen, better known as IQ, is sort of his nerdcore name, was crashing here at Casa del Robert. Like literally his air mattress was right down there,
right
on the floor, and so I became like. I picked him up Wednesday. When Kyle came in, I picked him up. When Samus came in, I picked her up as well. I became sort of the de facto transporting people around, and dropping off merch at tables and whatnot. And it was fun to be that part of it, because all these everyone has just become a friend now, and they're no longer they're artists. They're all very talented. And I know they're all talented just because of the nature they're with. But it was fun to be at that part of it, and then come to show and just like, this is mind blowing, because I know like especially you hadn't seen IQ perform yet, had you?
No, this would be the first time I had seen him perform.
What did you think about Christ Allen? IQ?
I was actually kind of off stage because there was I was watching Chris, and then Rand waved me over because this little kid wanted to play Battle Sloths, and he's like, you should be playing with the kid. I'm like, you're right, Mega Ran.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
So I sat and played with the kid, and just
no,
that's
one of the harder parts, I think, especially you, because you jokingly said that you weren't planning on working a convention. And here you are working a convention.
I mean, I was barely doing anything.
You're still doing something. Like, to the point where people are asking about a game. You're, making sure everything was working fine.
We didn't have too many. Like, I mean, I don't know. We had a good amount of players. It was fun.
But let's kind of go back. Let's go back to classic. And the reason I'm talking about Classic Game Fest just because it's something that happened to both of us. Did you do anything else besides like music and talking with Walter Day about TPM or transcendental? Is it called
Transcendental Meditation?
So TIM or TM. TM is
TM.
What TM.
Yeah.
Is what
So
it's called.
that's kind of it, really. Like, I didn't really there's a lot of vendors, but I wasn't buying anything.
Well, you had you had some friends that were there, which was kind of.
Yeah, one of my buddies Brian was like running this this table that was making these cool Zelda lamps.
Yeah, there was a lot of.
So I might buy one of those.
There was a lot of really. What was interesting this Classic Game Fest, because CGF is such a weird.
And then Finn and them were running that VR area.
That's right.
So that was cool. That might have been the only VR game that was there, actually.
Yeah, it's CGF's weird as an event goes, because it's this, like, if RTX is where the internet meets the community type thing, and if South by Southwest Gaming is where game developers meet the community, Classic Game Fest is strange because even though it's a retro gaming convention. And I mean that in that you go there, there's arcades all around, there's dealers who are selling crazy things, rare things or not. It's strange because even at that point in time, it still has like Artist Alley. It still has all these other weird things of a convention. People are cosplaying, people are that.
And panels too.
Right, and there's panels, and the panel guests are people like there was these guys there. I forgot what the name of it is, but they were like. They had basically made their own deconstructed version of controllers.
I think that's some sort of weird experiment where they were trying to make basically the worst controllers they could think of.
And it's funny. I had never thought. We were talking with you about this before the panel, and I was chit chatting. And if I'm not, I'll say it again. I had never thought of the idea of like how important controller layout is. Like, because I always think of things like button layout, like if you take like a controller like an SNES kind of thing, and you think like how is it that we all if you think about, like, I'll put it this way, when the Steam controller came out, people looked at it strange.
I think they still look at it strange.
Right, but why is that? Why is it that we look at that? How is it that we
they're not
all
looking at it strange? They're picking it up and feeling it, and it feels strange.
Right, but that was an interesting thing. I've never had thought about the idea of why it is. Because again, let's say we take a control like this, right?
Right.
And we break it down. We have
perfect.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons, and then the D-pad that goes into all its directions, right? And that seems to have been the layout that we've done now. Like if you look at something like a 360 controller and compare it, it's you still have 2 analog sticks, still 4 buttons, still triggers, whatnot. You've added a little bit more complexity.
Right.
But going to that booth and seeing them basically take this controller, or even something like a Nintendo, and just break it down to even weird things like one of the ones they had was, I think, a Nintendo controller, but with toggle switches instead.
I don't know. I didn't really mess with any of that stuff.
Well, I'm telling you, that's like I was there. They had one with like where basically you had to like toggle one way to move left and like toggle another one to hit like A, B, or C, whatever it was. So imagine playing Sonic on a Genesis controller, except you're not using this. You're flipping go left, and you flip up to hit A, and it's repeatedly hit A because it's a toggle switch.
Right.
And it was a weird thing for me to think about, like the idea of how you design how important like control scheme is in a game.
I did get to play like the Intellivision there, and I played Burger Time, which is like my mom's favorite game.
Yeah, that's right, especially like older ones for you.
So like I always like kind of rail against the Intellivision controller and keypad dials and all that stuff, but playing it at Burger Time, I'm just like, this is fine.
Yeah,
it's like maybe it might be the one game that actually feels good on that console.
But it's weird. It's weird to talk about that now, and and it's fun to talk about you just because. I mean, like when it came to Battle Floss, I can imagine just like trying to get the feet. I mean, you get kind of lucky having 2 analog sticks, but imagine, if you will, like you eventually ported to use keyboard and mouse just because you had to. In terms of the control scheme, like I bet you even getting that down took a bit of like finagling.
I don't even know if we got it down yet. I mean, like because it's not. It's not meant to be played with keyboard and mouse.
Right.
But we put it in there.
Well, because like I was, and the only reason I've thought about that now,
I always play with a controller.
Right. Well, because like even something like Spelunky, when it came out on PC, people were angry that they couldn't pinpoint precision stuff with a mouse, and it's like, well, that's not how it was designed to be made. It was meant to be played on a controller, and that's how we designed it and everything else. And it was so weird when you take the control scheme, because like I think for them, the idea of it was, I think the winner of a raffle would get and this is a working controller that came out, and I think it was for one of the Resident Evils where they made the controller on literally a chainsaw.
Oh yeah, I think I've held one of those.
It's a terrible controller. It's a horrible controller. It's dumb as hell. But
the GameCube controller, on the other hand, might be one of the best ones Nintendo ever did.
Yeah,
and I wish they would hire that guy to make their controllers again.
But it's interesting it was a weird way of me being presented with something as a game player that I never thought was so critical. Like I never would have thought that.
I mean, have you played the Switch yet? Those Joy-Cons are they're hard to do stuff with.
I've kind of played it. I haven't had a chance to really play with it in the hands like that. I've heard it's kind of, but it's fascinating to talk about that kind of stuff, and it's interesting to talk with dev people about that and sort of ask. I'm looking at the Facebook chat to make sure.
I mean, we always have issues with, because especially when we kind of keep a game simple, people were like, well, you guys going to be able to switch weapons. You're going to have like a shield or other buttons like that. So anytime we wanted to add a new feature, we had to kind of take into consideration, one, how hard it would be for the player to learn how to use it. And then also how much more complicated would it make the control scheme. So yeah, I don't know. That stuff is, we have a lot of buttons that do the same thing.
Right. But even the idea of, again, it was more of me having this revelation on game design that I never thought to think of, was the idea of just button layout. And I recently did a music video where I kind of got a whole bunch of older footage from games, and some of the games had been prior to people using, if you think about PC controls, WASD has become the default now. This is prior to them having as the default, it became the arrow keys. It was such a weird thing using the arrow keys again. I was like, why does this feel foreign?
Yeah, I don't like using.
But it's all these sort of weird things that I had never quite thought about.
I bought what's it, X-Wing on GOG a year ago. It's X-Wing is back. And I put it out. I'm thinking hell yeah, I used to play the crap out of that game when I was a kid. And so I bought it, and then I fired it up, and I was like, wow, this game needs a reboot real bad.
Yeah, it's weird.
Every single button on your keyboard does something.
And again, it's all these sort of weird things that you don't think about until you're presented with another way of doing it. And when it came to that controller thing, because you're so used to a certain control layout in your hand, whether it be a Nintendo controller or an Xbox 360 controller.
The flight stick would help with X-Wing.
Right, of course.
These days, it's just hard to map everything to an old-ass game like X-Wing.
Well, it's because there's so many... It's the idea, there's so many things you can do. I always remember my favorite controller that ever existed. What was the fucking game? It was on the Xbox. The mech game, Steel Battalion.
Oh.
The fucking
I've never played that one.
But you've seen the control as a nightmare.
It was $150 controller, right?
Yeah, that was basically that was the game and controller probably cost you about $170.
I wonder if the game was good.
Apparently, it was a good game, but we talk about the idea of flight stick stuff like that. This was to the point where, I mean, the game had a cool mechanic that you had to eject out before you died, so you'd save and you wouldn't lose your save.
Yeah.
But it was the idea that there was an eject button on the controller. And when I talk about controller, we're not talking
who had money to even buy that? It's just kind of
basically what it was, people. If you're too young to remember, or you've just never seen it,
or you blocked it from your memory,
it was
painful experience.
It was a dual flight stick that looked like the console, if you would, of a mech. And when I mean that, I mean to the point where you had
this thing had 100 buttons on it or something.
Yeah, it had a billion buttons. It had the plastic cover over the eject switch that just launched you out. And it's just the idea that who thought that was a grand idea? Who thought that was a marketable grand idea?
Someone who ran had a company that made controllers.
That's what I'm saying. It's those weird things. I'm who the fuck thought this was a who thought this was going to be?
It's a great idea. It's just not very practical.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like who thought this was because even the idea that
it's a great candidate for VR, actually.
Right. Again, they made a later version, not for VR, but for. This is gonna blow your mind. They made a later version for fucking what was the movement based thing for the Xbox thing called? What was it called?
Kinect.
The Kinect. They made a Kinect version where you could like use your hands and shit like that. Which
I think they could probably do it now for like the Vive.
Well, because I know they do. I know they do that for. They have that for what is it? Elite Dangerous, where you can have if you have a flight stick, you can. And you can have the VR, you can literally position it right where it's that, and you can grip, have it like it's if it's a real.
And I thought it was really funny because like I was talking about how I wanted to use like a game controller to play X-Wing, and everyone's like, "You should use a flight stick because it's more natural." Like, oh, more natural. The X-Wing is more like.
It's like what? Like
we don't know what kind of controls a freaking spaceship.
Doesn't even matter.
Starfighter's gonna have.
It's so.
It's not going to be a yoke. It's probably going to be like. It's probably just going to be robots do everything for you. Like, why even bother?
It's to tell your R2 unit to fly it for you.
There's like
R2 fly this thing while I figure shit out.
Is there any like by the time we get to space travel, is there any human on the planet that's gonna be better than like a AI robot who could just pilot everything for you?
But
you just tell them what to do.
But going back to all that, it just was such a mind. It was such a weird thing because again, that's what I think of Classic Game Fest for me. Like it's music, and it's all these like weird art kind of things.
Well, it's
because after a certain point, I go, I don't. Like I've never been a collector of classic games, which sounds weird being the guy that's like has.
You got a few.
I have a few, but like the few I have are important to me. Like I have all the Mother games because it's important to me. I have Earthbound because it's important to me. I have up there other things and some stuff that's even on the other panels. Like I have over here in the distance. I have a copy of Sun Solaris for no apparent reason. But I've never been the person that's like, I've got to have them all. Or I've got to have this. Or I've got to have this rare hyper games. Like
I would want like just a few that I really, really love.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to get a copy of Crystalis. So anyone want to get me a gift for my birthday or Christmas? Give me Crystalis for NES.
That's not a hard one that's not terribly hard to find.
I still want it for free.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and I was there and I'm going through, because I've never been that kind of mentality where I'm like, oh yeah, I picked this up. Oh, it's always games I've either played or wanted to play. Because a lot of times I'll go and I'll see the game and I'll go, oh cool, it's here. I'm not really wanting to spend $60 on a classic game right now because I am not the person yet where it has to be on the system. And I'm not that level where it's like I'm not at the point where I'm buying like $500 recreates of Nintendos.
Yeah, I do want to get a NES original.
Right.
Which I think is going to be the term now, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, okay. So there's
the classic doesn't exist anymore.
So if we go through all of them, if we go through all the iterations of Nintendo.
Oh, we don't need to do that. I just wanted to explain that, like.
Oh, right. The thing is that even that's a very interesting distinction. Do you mean the
front-loading one?
Right, not the top
VCR.
Not the NES2. The NES2 is the
top loader. No, I don't want that.
Hey, look, that has some advantages to it.
I don't care about the advantage. I want the one I had that sat cross-legged in front of my TV and played Zelda.
So you want the Nintendo? Okay, so you want the Nintendo Entertainment System?
Yeah, I don't want that crappy top loader bullshit.
You play. Your parents hook it up. Now you're playing with power.
Oh, I know how to hook it up. I knew how to hook it up.
I know too. My parents never hooked it up for me. I think I hooked it up.
But
I think they did it once.
Someone was saying oh, you should get the Retron 5 or 4, and saying you can play all these games. You can play Genesis. You can play Master System. You can play NES, Super NES. It's I don't give a shit about any of that crap. Because I'm barely going to use it.
And I think that's what's the interesting thing of when you talk to different people on what in the retro community, what they expect. You talk about Retron 5 to certain people, and they look at you, they look down on you. And not because it's a bad system, but because it's actually emulating the systems.
Oh, I think it's fine. I think the Retron 5 is fine.
Oh no, I think it's great. I think it's an amazing thing.
I want the NES original because that's what I wanted to have that's what I want to have on my table.
Right. They got the NES, and then there's the people who also are like you, but they want HDMI hookups, and that's where you get the AVS or the I forget what the other one is. Like,
I don't know. I'll probably just get like I might get just like a crappy $20 TV.
No, yeah, and again, it's
This would be like something I would bust out at parties or something.
Well, because for the other thing that you have that we both have, that's
Russian roulette.
Yeah, I think it's right here on my. I don't think you guys can see it, sadly, but
that game's complicated.
It is.
It's pretty loaded imagery in that game, and I think even Andy Raytano would be like, I don't know if I should make this.
My teddy.
I think it's too late for him.
But my favorite is the I think there's a point where I think it's you could shoot the gun, and if you hit the teddy bear, I don't know if it still exists, but it existed at least for the version I played, where he shoots he's like my teddy, and like shoots you back, shoots back, and the game ends. Right. I just love the idea of a hardened cowboy having a teddy bear.
Yeah, like Whiskey and Step 2, right?
Yeah,
I haven't played my copy yet because I don't have an NES.
I don't either, but I mean, I knew buying this that I wasn't going to be able to play it just because I don't have any of the equipment for it.
I'm gonna go get an NES original at some point.
No, yeah, but all that being, and again, there's other things for it in terms of light guns and stuff like that. It's funny, but it's so fun to kind of talk with all these different kind of groups of retro gamers and to sort of see the different sects and more importantly the different generations. Because like for you and like you mentioned that your mother had it in television.
Well, I mean, she probably got it for the family or something.
But I mean, the point is like I never had an Intellivision or Atari. Like I didn't get into gaming until the Nintendo. Like that was my first kind of memory of a system.
Right.
I always knew that Atari existed. And I always knew that these things existed. They, the joke I make is I was born in an era. Like I don't know of an era existing where video games weren't a concept.
Right.
Like arcades always existed. These sort of things have always been in the present. But I've never, I never had an Atari. I never had a television, never had a ColecoVision. But
I actually have an Atari now.
Really?
I didn't have one when I was growing up, but my mom had found one at like an auction. She gave me like a big box of Atari stuff. So I just got to figure out how to hook it up.
Atari's not too hard. Yeah, Atari's not too hard to hook up. It takes some difficulty, but not terribly too hard.
I guess I got to make sure it's clean and stuff so it'll turn on properly.
But anyways, so you talk about that portion of that, and you go to Classic Game Fest, and you look in there, and there's everything from from Atari to ColecoVision to some Magnavox and television games to some crazy shit like that. It's like, well, you see stuff, and then there's the other generations like Super, Nintendo on up, and you see like all the Nintendo games like that. Then you see Super Nintendo. Then it's because I'll have friends of mine that are like, oh, yeah, look what I bought on 64. I'm like, that's cool. Knowing that I'm probably never gonna buy this on 64 again, or that. Cause I don't even know where my 64 is anymore. I take it back. I know where my Super and PlayStation is. But it's fun to go to that and to see those portions of it, but to also be part of that same festival and to know that like in the next room, all your friends are playing awesome music.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what it was like right there, and it's like all the artists that you saw the NPC Collective are performing, and I think we even had some. I almost want to call them I don't even know the term anymore. If NPC is a group, like I'd almost call like Bitforce like the allies of the NPC.
I guess so. Well, they were amazing.
Yeah, that was you saw Bitforce prior at PAX South.
Yeah, Bitforce and Mega Ran might be one of the best nerdcore shows I've ever seen in my life.
What did you think of having the other parts of the Voltron, like the Choco Bros and
I think it was good. I just think things are super focused when it was just Bitforce and Mega Ran.
I think it's such a
They're all really great together. I actually didn't see Mega Ran's set, so I don't really know.
No, you missed a lot. Well, because it's interesting.
Because that was yesterday. That was Saturday afternoon, so I missed that one.
Hey, look, we have V Money 48, which is Vincent Banks. There apparently Bitforce are NPC. I never know because it's funny. It's such a funny concept of calling what like the NPC is. For those who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about or are still thinking NPC stands for non-player character, NPC is basically what's called the nerdy the nerdy people of color. For lack of better words, we are a loose collection because we actually are a very, very well-defined collective, but we're a very loose connection of people who are all about the concept of representation in video games,
right?
And other things, and it's from you have ranges from a lot of people who are part of it are artists in their own right, whether it be in music and stuff like that, other creatives. I'm kind of the weird person in that I am a creative in terms of making podcasts, in terms of that, but I'm not a musician in any capacity. So I'm like the weird, like the joke I made when I was talking with people in interviews, like I'm kind of like the Sid of the group. Like I'm Sid from Final Fantasy IV, where it's like where I don't really do a whole lot. I don't really have I can't really I'm not part of the main party, but I can give you a hell of an airship,
Sid was in the main party.
Sid was in other main parties. But the version 4 of Sid was like, he hung out with you for a bit and is like, peace out, bro. I got to go back to helping the castle. That one. Right, that's why I say Final Fantasy 4 Sid, because 7 Sid, he was like, yeah, I got a cigarette, I can fight. Like, every other Sid's active, except for maybe 8. Oh, God, now we're talking about Sid. But it's a joke I make, because I have never idea how to promote that stuff. But it's fun. It's kind of fun to be the non-artist in a group of artists. And
you're an artist, though. You create.
Well, I'm going to say like non-artist. I mean non-music artist. I'll put it that way.
Oh, right.
It's fun to know that, because like I was talking with like it's fun to be the guy that knows he'll never be that and has no desire to be that, but wants to help his friends to be more of that. Much like you or I have no desire to make a video game, even though I probably could at least try, but I know enough about how video games are made that I have no problem encouraging people and giving advice of like, check this out, check out Unity, break down tic-tac-toe into its game mechanics,
right?
Because that's all that really goes into making it. That's all that is the base core of how to make a game. The rest is just making it, which is up to you at that point. Like
just time.
Yeah, exactly. Just
all
do.
The tools are free these days,
right? And
so.
Just do it. And that's the thing I give is like, you can do it. Here's all the stuff to do it. Just fucking do it, because you're gonna do bad ones for your first 4 ones no matter what. Like Rami Ismail always just says, just make shit.
Yeah, those guys like game jam all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Just make shit. Doesn't matter what. Just even. I
wonder what those guys are working on next.
I wonder what too. I think I know that they're working on stuff.
Rami's just always on tour.
well, Rami's like he's the one person like that I am glad I've got to meet. But like, man, that guy is just goes I think he told me why. I think he said like basically he says yes to everything and tries his best to do it.
Oh, I should invite him to like a barbecue.
Yeah, basically, yeah. He'll say, because again, it's not like he won't do something. It's just like that's why the joke in his Twitter his Twitter profile is like, where is he in the world? And it's like 30,000 feet in the air. Or whatever. Right. But rewinding back to the whole thing, it's fun to be part. It's fun to now officially be part of that group, and to see it, because I'm gonna try to reach out to a lot of the guys there and ask them if they'd be up for being guests, because I love chatting with people, and B, new guests are great. But it was fun. It was really fun to be a part, to be at that point, because I never had a chance to really do that during South by to a certain degree. I've had a chance to hang out with Rand a couple times. Obviously, DJ Rockman and Vincent I hang out with as much as I can. But it was fun to kind of be in that. It must have been fun for you, especially because you got to meet like some of the art. Like you got to actually talk with Samus, and she had you. She liked your shirt, and you got to have a whole like conversation with her.
Oh, I feel like maybe I should have talked to her more.
You probably should have,
because I guess like when I see like an artist touring, and especially someone who's, I don't know, you always think like they're so busy, but I bet they just like do. What I've learned with
a lot of with the, I'd almost want to say this is I can say this is a blanket statement of the NPC, only because it's almost a blanket statement. I can say an indie artist, but specifically them, or anyone that they tend to hang out with. I think that they're all hyper approachable. Like, I didn't get a chance to go to the Dirty Dozen this past weekend, but you did. You got to see Crunkwitch perform.
That was really good.
Right, and like he's hyper. I forgot the guy. What's his?
In 80.
Yeah, in 80's dual core.
About Brandon.
Brandon, he's hyper approachable. Like, I got to meet him because Persona introduced me to him.
I'm glad I finally got to see them at a not South by Southwest show, and I mean, like, I was felt. So they only played for like 10 people, but it was like such a freaking awesome performance.
Well, that's sort of what I've learned by a lot of...
I tried to film it and just feel like so people need to know.
And I think that's important. I had broadcasted live all of Classic Game Fest, all of IQ's set because I felt people needed to know, because I felt like people need to hear more IQ. Because I was talking with Drew afterwards, because he was playing a tournament. I was like, "Did you get a chance to hear IQ set?" He's like, "Yeah, that was wow." Like, it was this like hyper emotional thing, and it's like, this is good. I'm like, yeah, because I want more people to know this sort of side of artists. But it was fun. You know, it's fun to know that a lot of these guys that we all like are approachable. Because I can imagine, like, when you're done with a set, like, you talk with Brandon and kind of chit chatted a bit, or at least hopefully.
I was actually on the run.
Oh shit.
Because I did talk to him, and then Dual Core went on. But after Dual Core set, I bounced because I told my friends I was going to make it to Game of Thrones, and they held off watching it for like a half hour. And so, like, basically as soon as David did pack all the things,
yep,
I was like, shook his hand, like, I love you, man, I gotta go.
But at least he saw the set. I felt bummed because I had to work that night, and I didn't. And I always hate kind of going out when I have to work, just to be safe and not, like, you know, get my ass fired.
There's no corporation in the world worth making that sacrifice for.
Nah, it's hey, look, it pays the bills. It's more me being. It's weird when you realize that this is the moment when you're being an adult, is when it's like, okay, I could go do this, but my car, if I get a flat tire or something happens.
Oh, that would like literally never happen. If it did, they'd be fine. They'd say, "Oh, you got a flat tire. It's life."
Right, it happens, but this is the brain kicks in all the different bad scenarios. Because
they're not gonna fire you for getting a flat tire.
They wouldn't. But it's all these things, like, you know. But that being said, it's apparent to me that anyone that tends to kind of hang out with my friends, no matter where they are on tour, tends to be approachable. Like, tends to be the point where you can go and say hi. You know, they're not, you know, if they're there. If they're not, you know, if they're outside elsewhere, different, maybe, you know, working on stuff, different story.
Well, I mean, like, permission's everything, and social media is so important. So if you're nice to people, they'll talk about you on social media.
Right, exactly. Or like, here we are talking about, you know, Crunkwitch, and here we are talking about Samus, and you know, here we are talking about these amazing artists. You know, like, again, like, I'm excited for their new stuff, because I know, like, as a guy that kicked in their Indiegogo, like, I'm looking forward to having some new music from Crunkwitch.
The new material is excellent.
I bet.
I mean, I don't want to say way better, but it was better. It was better than the old stuff. So,
but I mean, that's okay. Artists are supposed to improve.
Yeah, I think Brandon and Hannah are doing a really good job.
Yep.
So I'm very happy with how that's going for them.
I am too, but it's fun. You know, I think, you know, to tie us all up, because we're almost out of time. We're almost the hour mark. I think festivals like Classic Game Fest, and I realized I didn't know we were going to talk about Classic Game Fest for the next hour or so, but hey, sometimes you just got to get that way.
Right.
I think Classic Game Fest is one of those festivals that, having gone to it from the beginning, like, and I mean, like, literally, like, the first Classic Game Fest, to kind of give you an idea, was in the parking lot of Game Over Video Games on Anderson.
So it was like just like a sale.
Yeah, it was just like that, and Descendants of Erdrick played, and here we are now, where it's at the Palmer, and top tier music talent like Mega Ran, Samus, Kadesh Flow,
right,
Creative Mindframe, Bitforce, Kirby's Dream Band, like all these, you know, DJ Rockman, any of these names that have now, in my mind, become synonymous with talent,
right,
and synonymous with bringing talent with them, are playing at a festival that began in a parking lot.
That's how it goes. I mean,
I know, but it's crazy. Like, I didn't realize I'm saying that now, and only because it was your first year, and you're like, "This is awesome. This is great." And, like, you know, you may.
I mean, I'll come back just for the music alone.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's the such a strange part for me, is that I go that just for the music. Like, I go there to meet some of the artists every so often, but I usually my entrance is like, "Oh, cool, my friends are playing a show," or, "Oh, cool, my friends are playing a show, and these new artists are with them that I have not met."
There's no reason for me not to set up a more official game table either. But yeah, the tables were pretty cheap there. So.
That's a funny thing too. It's this weird. I say it's a weird festival, meaning that it's very professionally ran. It's very well ran. It has, but there's never issues. Like, I never feel like things are going bad. It's, there's panels and they've figured out how to split things off and make sure the music's not too loud for this and everything's fine. But it's one of those things where going there year after year and going to other bigger cons year after year and just seeing how effective they are at working what would come off as this like smaller convention, because it's like, well, it's Classic Game Fest. How many people are into retro video games? And it's not even so much that it's about retro gaming anymore. It's this weird festival that happens that just so happens to have retro video games as its core because it's ran by game over video games. But like there's artists, there's VR games, there's indie stuff, there's other weird things going on, and then there's this music section that has a lot of really awesome hip hop and rock and roll. It just so happens to be video game related to a certain degree, right, or even anime related to a certain degree, and it's just such a fun thing for me to see and have been part of as it's grown to become this.
I'm excited to see what happens with them next year.
Phil, we'll talk more about the post shows and stuff like that. But Phil, thank you so much for being on the Real Podcast again. If people want to catch more of your stuff, especially because you're now, your game is out and available for purchase, where can people find all the stuff that is in the world of Phil and Battle Sloths and stuff like that?
So my main output would be the game Battle Sloths. So you can follow the game Battle Sloths at Battle Sloths WoW. We're also on Facebook at Battle Sloths Game. And then I'm also on Twitter as InvisibleThrill, and that's my handle on Instagram, but I mostly just post pictures of my cat and vegan food.
Look, I think look, your cat needs to be an actual playable character in Battle. Like, you need to have cat.
She has a hat.
She's a hat. I know she's a hat in the Golden Thide thing. She needs to be you need to make a cat version of the sloth somehow. A cat
battle cat, battle
cat,
battle blue
battle
cats.
kitty. See, that would make that's what make the game different. That's the mod for it, the battle kitty mode.
Oh geez, I don't know if I have the resources for that.
Of course, you can find me. I'm at Vincent404. They're the Twitters and on the internets. And of course, you want to catch previous of the podcast, you go to our website, CosmicRadio.TV /8BitLife. There you find links to show notes, previous episodes, and of course, if you happen to have some money left over after buying your copy of Battle Floss, head over to patreon.com /8BitLife and help the show become bigger, better, and more awesomer. So that's it for today. So until next time, talk to another geek, busting completely and utterly random. Bye, people.
Bye-bye.